Yes, thanks everybody for joining today. Really appreciate everybody attending. My name's John. I'm from a PR agency in Belfast, for those who are visiting from different shores, called Clearbox. And we really wanted to organise the training today because I've actually worked with Emma for the last probably year and a bit, Emma, I would say. Time flies when you're having fun, like. But Emma's been really, really helpful for me and our company and kind of advising different strategies for our clients. And teaming up with the PRCA, we just wanted to pass on some of those tips and skills to everybody else in the industry. So without further ado, Emma, take it away.
Thanks very much, John. And Morag, thanks very much for having me today. Hello, everyone. My name's Emma. And yes, so today I'm going to be taking you through a session, a masterclass on digital marketing for PR professionals. I'm really sorry to be this person. Can I just double check before we go ahead and just that you can see my screen and it's all there and it's all good? Yeah, good. Okay, excellent. The sound of COVID and screen sharing is just constantly, can you hear me? Am I on mute? Can you see my screen okay? So a bit about me before we get started. I have a postgraduate in digital marketing communications way back in 2013, which feels like a really long time ago now, and have had about 10 years experience in the industry in digital marketing. I've worked with the likes of Hastings Hotels, Visit Belfast, Allstate NI, and Chain Reaction Cycles, which to a wider audience might be better known now as Wiggle.com. And I started my own digital consultancy in 2020. I am a part-time lecturer at Ulster University, Belfast Met and Northwest College. What's lovely is actually I now teach the postgraduate in digital marketing communications course, one of the modules there for Ulster University. So it's kind of been a nice little circle of life there. And I specialize in digital strategy, website management, SEO, content marketing, all those great things. And yeah, basically I have a real passion for helping businesses to help themselves, as well as obviously working in the industry myself, because I just think that digital marketing is so big now and so important that you can't ignore doing it yourself. You know, it can't just all be agencies. It has to be people and businesses have to be able to manage themselves and to help support their own clients as well. So that's why I thought this would be a good idea today. So just to give you a quick agenda of what we're going to be looking at, we're going to kick off with SEO PR. That'll take about 45 minutes or so. And then we're going to look at some Google tools to help support. Then we're going to take a quick comfort break because by that point you'll be like, oh, SEO. And then we're going to jump into social media and we're going to look at channels, scheduling, advertising, things like that, and some hints and tips and just kind of what's new in the arena. I have put in a Q&A at the end, but I think just to keep things easy, we'll maybe stop at the end of Google tools just before the break. I'll allow a couple of Q&A for anybody who's got them, and then we'll kick off into our break, and then we'll do a separate Q&A after social media, as long as that suits everyone. So what we're going to look at, we're going to look at SEO for PR. What is SEO, on-page SEO, keyword research, copywriting, and link building, all those good things. There's a lot more to cover than this, but we do only have a certain amount of time. So I'll try to get through as much as I possibly can. And if you've got a couple of questions, you can fire them, like I say, into the chat. And anything we can't get to, I'll leave my email address, or you can catch me on LinkedIn or whatever works. So what is SEO? Let's start with the basics. Search engine optimization is basically a series of improvements which leads to the positioning of your website and the pages of your website in a preferable order in organic search engine results, or SERPs as you might hear it referred to. Everyone needs a good SEO strategy. It's essential for improving the quality and quantity of traffic to your website, getting those clicks, getting those eyes on the page. People will see you on Google before they see your website as well. It is their first and potentially last stop. And what I mean by that is if somebody is searching for something, maybe it's the brand directly. If it is, happy days, and they're looking for you already, or it could be a more general search term. If you're not appearing there, if you're not on the first or second page, you might never get that potential customer. If you don't have the right kind of meta descriptions and titles off your page, which we'll get to explaining in a bit, again, it might not entice somebody to click. So you could be on the first page, but it looks like you're not really answering their questions. So they're going to go to somebody else, potentially your competitor, or they might do a new search. Just a couple of stats for you around SEO. So there is approximately 1.5 billion Google searches every day, something to think about. And the ratio in terms of organic search clicks to paid is 12:1. So what I mean by that is whenever you search for something and you see a paid result at the top and then you see an organic listing underneath, 12 people are going to click on that before they click on the paid one. There's just something in us that doesn't like clicking on something that's paid for, even though we're not the ones paying for it. And then you're also 8 times more likely to convert than through paid advertising campaign if you see something as a result of good SEO. So what I mean by that as well is if something is answering your question and you're landing on the right website, then you're 8 times more likely to convert than you would through potentially seeing it as part of an ad. So what is SEO? Search engines have a crawler or a spider. It gathers information about all the content that they can find on the internet. And then the crawlers look at on and off page factors of potential search returns, and then they build an index. So they look at all the different factors that you've got going on about what's on your website, and then they build an index or a list essentially. Then that index or list is then fed through an algorithm that tries to match all that data with your query, and your site is then ranked in accordance to how much it actually matches that query. So basic 3 factors: crawl, index, rank. I've listed some of the off and on page factors there. We'll not go through them all because honestly it would take such a long time, but we will in a second look at the kind of top things that you need to be thinking about with regards to SEO. But basically off page is anything that's not on your website. It could be social network, it could be white papers, it could be another website linking to you or whatever. Anything on your page or on page optimization is something that you can have control over, like your keyword selection, how you've titled your articles, your meta descriptions, your images, things like that. So basically off page is exactly what it sounds like, on page is exactly what it sounds like. It's not too difficult. It's not as scary as you might think. However, in saying that, in 2006, Google announced, I know this is way back when, they announced that there's over 200 ranking factors. That was back in 2006. So they haven't since then shared how many ranking factors they now use, but you can be guaranteed it's well over 200 at this point. All their ranking factors filter into what's known as the 4 pillars of SEO. It used to be the 3 pillars. So if you Google it, 3 pillars will come up. Now you'll hear about the 4th pillar. So the 3 pillars were technology, authority, and relevance. And now the 4th pillar is user experience. And there's some new kind of tools that are coming along from that, mainly GA4, which again, we'll talk about whenever we're looking at the Google tools. So here is an image here that you can see is basically what happened is it's a really good website. If you're ever looking for information on SEO, I cannot recommend enough a website called Moz, M-O-Z. It's all about SEO, tells you everything you'll need to know. And what they did was get sort of 50 to 100 of the top SEO marketers around the world together to develop what they believed was kind of the system, the kind of breakdown of what you needed to in order to rank, and they kind of made this nice little pie chart that you see here. So again, we don't have time to go through all of them. You can see what they are on the right hand side, and hopefully you'll know what most of them are. But what we will do is look at some of the more major factors, such as the content, the meta titles, backlinks, things like that, which we're going to talk about in a second. But you can see there that everything here all falls into one of these 4 pillars, whether that's the technology side of things, which is such as mobile speed, this menu structure, things like that, or the URL structure, authority, which kind of falls into showing that you've got niche content, that you've got expertise, you've got engaging content, relevance, again, engaging content, relevant to what the person is searching for, and then user experience. So how long somebody spends on the website, how easy is it for them to find content? Are you answering their query? Is it mobile responsive as well? It's also a user experience as well as technology based element, because basically a lot of us use our phones now and we don't want to have a bad mobile experience. We'll probably just leave the website. So on-page SEO, let's delve into it. On-page SEO are things that you pretty much have control over at any items that you're creating in terms of blog content, web pages, news articles, etc. You can optimize your page titles and meta descriptions with keywords. Your titles should be around 60 characters. Your descriptions should be around 155 characters. So what you see at the bottom there is, I have very sort of broken the fourth wall there and literally Googled what is a meta description to show what a meta description is. So what you can see, how to create the right meta description is the title. So that's your 60 characters or less. You can go up to about 75 characters before it disappears off. You'll get those like two, three dots at the end. You know, you won't see the whole of the content. But it's actually all to do with the width of your characters. So if you use a lot of W's in your brand, then you're going to take up more space. So I always try to stick to around 60 character limit. And then the meta description is what appears underneath. So the title is kind of the eye-catching piece. It's what's going to draw you in and go, oh, that does actually answer my query. And then the little bit of content underneath of the meta description gives a little bit more detail, and you can go and say, yeah, that looks like that's answering what I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to click in there and find out a little bit more information. Your URL should be keyword driven as well. It shouldn't be a long pile of bump, and it should just tell you exactly what is in your content. And you should be consistently publishing quality keyword driven on-page content. And again, you're looking at around 500 words there. Google wants something that it can get its teeth into, that it can recognize, that it can establish that you know what you're talking about on the copy. Alt tags and image compression as well is really, really important. So basically what we have there is alt tags are a descriptor for images. So whenever you're uploading imagery to your website or to a piece that you're doing, it should be alt tagged as well. So you'll go into the media area and it'll show you where you can actually do, you can add an alt tag. Initially, alt tags were for the heart of site. It was something that allowed software to read out to somebody what they could see in front of them. It's now also being used as an SEO tool as well. Image compression, again, you want your pages to load fast. You don't want them to load slow. It puts people off. People have a very, very short attention span these days. Google likes your website to load in under 3 seconds. And typically they find anything over 7 seconds, people just tend to drift off. We have very, very short attention spans now. And image compression, making sure that your images aren't massive. You know, ideally they should be under a couple of hundred kilobytes. Anything larger than that could slow down the website. Any images that you have that are a megabyte or more, you're going to have an issue there. So make sure you're compressing your images before you add them to the website to make sure that you're getting a good speed on your load time. Internal linking as well within your own site is very important. So that's why I've shown this kind of example here from Visit Belfast. Anybody who's local will know what this website is. Anybody who's not, this is basically a tourist website for people to, and for locals as well, to kind of inform them what's going on, restaurants, activities, events, etc. So what you can see they've done here in a blog is you'll see they've got the title here at the top, which will feed through. They've got nice, easy to read, consistent content. And at the bottom, what they have is what's called internal linking. And that's where they basically have, you know, a little bit of, you know, if you like this, you might like this. And that encourages a user journey around the website as well. So if you're writing for a website for your own, for a client's, consider the customer journey. If they read a piece on your website and then there's nothing else for them to go on to, they're going to stop their journey there. What you want is them to consistently go through your website. So adding something like this at the bottom, which allows you to click through to other relevant website pages is really, really important. And then you also have backlinks as well. So a backlink is where somebody links through to you. And we're actually going to look at that in a bit to explain what backlinking is and how you can do it. I can see a couple of items there in the chat. We'll get to them at the end of the kind of SEO session. Don't worry, I'll not forget you. So this is where you can find your on-page SEO. Every platform's different. In my personal opinion, my humble opinion, praise be the WordPress, and Yoast is a great platform. It's a good plugin that you can use for free. There's a paid option as well, of course, but you can use a lot of the functionality for free on your website. And there you can see what will happen is you will create your content. At the bottom, Yoast will have this nice little box and it will tell you your SEO title, your slug or your URL, and your meta description, and you'll get a nice little traffic light system as well, telling you how well you're performing in terms of SEO. This is Wix. I do not recommend Wix as a website, but again, that is my own personal preference. They are getting better, but they're just not great with regards to SEO, but they have like areas as well for adding in descriptions and things like that. And then finally, I've got Squarespace here onto the right-hand side. Again, you click home, and it'll have like a little marketing area, and you can click into your title and description formats. I do find that WordPress is just that little bit more intuitive. With Yoast, it is very, very good in terms of helping you find all the information that you need. And just kind of to highlight that, what I've done here, what I'm about to do, sorry, is to share my screen on the right-hand side here, just to show you it in practice. Hopefully you can see that now. So what you should see there is my back end of my own website. Hope you can. It's been a little bit strange. Just tell me I'm screen sharing on, sorry, I've got two screens here. It's telling me I'm screen sharing on this one, which is a presentation, but I think it's showing me this other one now. Hopefully what you'll see there is the back end of my website. Now you'll have all your content and everything at the top, but at the very bottom, you'll have the Yoast plugin. And what will happen here is you'll be able to put in your focus key phrase here, what you want to rank for. It'll show you how you currently look, and you'll actually then be able to make your SEO title change. Personally, I like to have my website name at the start and then what the page is here. Look at the slug's fine. And then you've got your meta description, which describes exactly what you are, what's on the page. And then you'll get this nice little green face. This is a happy face. This is the one that we want to see here and here. Okay, we should be back to my presentation screen now. Please let me know if I'm not. So you should go to the Yoast plugin, go for green, pick your keyword at the top, create your own title and meta description, check your URL, and check your page title. So on-page SEO, here's an example that I've taken from a blog on Moz, because who better to write a blog about SEO than Moz, and who better to sort of quote. And I've highlighted kind of the key things that you want to be looking for in terms of the content. So what we have here is a really, really good SEO driven title right at the top here. You can see 9 ways to design inclusive content. That will be their main title as well whenever you're searching for queries on Google. Then you have headings or H1 titles. Headings that ask questions help rank as people are actually searching these questions. Think about what the person on the other end is searching for, like what is inclusivity, how to design inclusive content. You know, this blog actually answers the questions that people are typing in, so it's matching the query really, really well. The headers will also break up the copy and they'll make it easier to digest, and then also, again, it gives you additional opportunities to use keyword-driven content. I actually did a check on the website by just inspecting it, basically. If you hit the right button of your mouse, you can usually inspect a website and see what they have in there. And if you read the code, in this case, I was able to see that this image here and this image, in fact, were compressed, they were the right size, and they had alt text implemented as well. All these things are a green flag to Google. So these are all the things that you should be looking at. And this is a really just generally nicely laid out blog. You know, it's easy to skim over. Your eyes are, you know, hitting the right spots. There's a list there, you know, it's very plainly laid out. It's a nice color. It's eye-catching. And like I say, it's simple to read. So keyword research, I keep talking about keywords. How on earth do you actually find out about keywords? So keywords are the words and phrases that searchers enter into search engines, and they are important mainly for page titles, the actual copy on your content, the URLs, and your meta descriptions. So where do you actually find them? Well, really simple ones that we'll look at first of all are often overlooked. bear with me, I don't have a problem. I'm actually working, I've launched recently a new whiskey website for a client. So I'm just using this as an example because it was the first thing that came to mind. So whiskey, I did a search here, EY, by the way, Irish whiskey, keyword search and suggested related searches. So you literally start typing into Google and there'll be a little drop down and it'll be additional suggested related searches. Then you'll see here also people also ask, or PAA. If you scroll down a page after you put a search query in, usually about halfway down, 3/4 of the way down, you'll get this little drop down of people also ask. So what are the top 10 whiskies? What is the difference between whiskey and whiskey? Is Scotch whiskey or whiskey? Which type of whiskey is best? So these are the queries that people are actually asking. So that's really insightful. So you'll go, okay, I could do an article on that. I could do an article based on what's the difference between whiskey and whiskey, EY or just Y, and explain the difference between Scotch and Irish whiskey, and then maybe talk about American whiskies and bourbon and things like that. There's an entire piece of content just created out of the fact that you search the word whiskey. Then also, if you scroll to the bottom of Google, again, you'll get searches related to. So it will show you all the related searches, other keywords that people have used to search that are similar to what you have searched for as well. And then you'll also have search analytics within Google Analytics. So on the left-hand side, if you're in Google Analytics, you'll scroll down and you will see, I think it's within behavior or acquisition potentially, but there'll be a little subsection there called Search Analytics. And it will show Search Console data, including average search position for keywords that you rank for and how many impressions and clicks this brings you. We're going to talk about Search Console in a wee bit whenever we're looking at Google tools. But yes, Search Analytics is really, really useful. If you have a search function as well on your website, if it happens to have one of those, you can also search for that or check that out, sorry, within Google Analytics. And again, it'll tell you what people are searching for. And you can see maybe you're mislabeling articles, or maybe you're mislabeling products or something like that. A wee example of that is whenever I worked for Chain Reaction Cycles, or Wiggle, I actually managed the North American segment of their audience. And I would maybe make some changes and stuff to the website to make it a little bit more relevant. And one of the big things obviously there was I was able to see people weren't searching for trainers, they were searching for sneakers. So I had to change the language on the website. So that's just a good indication to kind of what you can do to help your users find exactly what they're looking for. Something else, I'm sure most of you know about this already, but what an absolute brilliant tool, answerthepublic.com. This provides frequently asked questions as well as keywords to help you build content. This is one of my happiest finds. I came across this years ago. I think it was even potentially whenever I was at Ulster University, whenever I was doing my course. I can't remember. It was a while, but anyway. And my mind was blown. And I always shout about it. I'm sure most people know about it, but just in case you don't, basically answerthepublic.com, go there, enter in a word or a phrase, whatever you want, and it will provide these brilliant knowledge maps for you, and it will provide you with like an array of what people ask around that subject. It helps you build content, helps you create blogs, giving you a whole raft of ideas, and it also provides you with also search keywords and phrases and things like that. So it's basically what you want to do is actually match the queries of what your users are searching for. We all have in our head how we would search for something, but I can guarantee you, if you and I were both to start searching for, say, a holiday right now, we would search in very different ways. The language that we would use, the platforms that we would use, everything would be very different. So this just helps you build out a bigger plan of keyword research. And then you've got your kind of more in-depth tools. So there's sorry, my Belfast accent's coming through. Ahrefs is a really great website. There's also Moz Tool and there's SEMrush. They all will help you provide, they'll help you come up with keywords around your search and what could help you build out content there and what people are searching for and what will help you rank on SEO. They are paid for. There's some free tools. Some will maybe just do like top 10 keywords or whatever, and they're definitely worth still looking into, but they are paid for platforms. The previous ones are obviously all free to do. Something else that you consider as well is Google AdWords and Google Trends. So Google AdWords, it used to be brilliant because what you could do is just literally go into the keyword finder and you could just do it straight away. They kind of caught on that not everybody was actually creating ads and just using it as a tool in itself. So a couple of years ago, what they did was change it. So it's still very much available, still completely free. But what you'll need to do is almost go through the setup of creating an ad campaign. And then you'll eventually get to the keyword planner, and then you can utilize it. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to start the campaign. You don't have to finish off the campaign. You can just still use the keyword planner within Google Ads. And then Google Trends is another great platform. It's expanding quite a lot. We'll not go down that deep, dark rabbit hole, but there's a whole thing around Google Travel and everything because they're really getting into the travel market. But the Google Trends, the initial platform for Google Trends, helps you see what's kind of trending at the moment, really everything from news to countries, demographics, things like that. And it'll help you kind of create content if there's something that you can jump onto the back of if you're just looking for something to publish that day to kind of get a little bit more traffic to your website. Google Trends is a great platform to use. So copywriting for SEO. Consider user intent. Okay, so don't assume the user knows who you are, what you do, what you're about, or if you've got a product for them, basically. So you've got to consider where they are in their journey. Are they aware of you yet? Are they, I'm just thinking of like, in my head, I have like the customer life cycle that I always go through with students, but they're either at the start of their journey, they're halfway through their journey, they may be heard of you, but they've never interacted with you, or they have interacted with you, but they haven't purchased, or maybe they've purchased and they're a repeat customer. So they could be in various stages of their journey with you. So you've got to create content that fits to those different stages of the journey. So you've got to think about your personas, you've got to think about where people are, all those good things. Think about whether the piece that you're putting out is an awareness piece or is it a brand reinforcement piece. Worded as such, you know, consider people in different stages of the journey. So for example, at the end of this, I have a couple of links that'll help you kind of continue your learning, really. And one of them is a beginner's guide to SEO. If I Googled SEO or a query around SEO, because I just want to check on something, if I saw a beginner's guide, that's not going to be really helpful to me, but it might be helpful to somebody else. So you need to think about where somebody is in their journey and create the content around that and answer the queries that would be associated with that stage in their journey. Do your keyword research. Obviously, we just talked about it. So what are people asking for? What are the actual questions? Answer them. Do not keyword stuff. I think it's really important to highlight this. Google did a series of updates between 2014 and 2016 time. They love naming things after like animals and stuff, and they do it in like alphabetical order. So they brought out 3 updates that were, panda, penguin, and pigeon. Woo. And they were all basically around the idea that people had kind of cottoned on to this idea of keyword stuffing or just basically spouting a pile of nonsense onto one page, you know, different variants of the word socks and, you know, men's socks, women's socks, stripy socks, spotted socks, all beside each other on, you know, it wasn't a great user experience. So Google will spot keyword stuffing. They'll also spot linking. You know, we talked about backlinks and we'll talk about it a bit more in a second. Google spotted that people were just linking from random websites. So they've combated all of that. All that kind of spammy stuff is not okay. Google will not let you away with it. And it'll be of absolutely no use and a waste of time to yourself as well. So do not keyword stuff. Know your audience and speak their language. So, you know, think about the demographic of the reader, the outlet that you are posting content on or where it's being shared from, and word it appropriate for those platforms. And then also, now, I'm not one of those people that thinks that, I do think that voice search is important and it's growing and all the rest of it, but I don't think it's actually happening as much as people maybe say it is. We maybe do like 1 or 2 searches a day in certain age ranges as well, might I add. But they're usually around like answering a very specific question, like what's the weather like tomorrow, or call somebody. You're not going to look for long form content through voice search, but it is worth keeping in mind. and a way to help rank in terms of the results that you'll get back, because it is slightly different what you'll get back, is, again, it's including questions in your copy. You want to make sure that you're actually, if I ask Siri, what's happening in Belfast this weekend, you might want to have a blog that's literally called What's Happening in Belfast This Weekend, because it'll answer queries. Include visuals. So make sure that you're keeping your reader engaged. Encourage shares with quality or funny, sorry, per spelling. I am very paranoid about my spelling given the nature of everybody who's on this session today. There's my first spelling mistake that I've spotted, at least anyway, so apologies. So if you want to have shareable quality content, if you want your content to be shared, it needs to be quality, it needs to be funny, or give people a reason to share. Keep it skimmable. So that article that we looked at a little bit ago, it was very nicely laid out. It was a long article, but I think the way they had it laid out, subsection with the questions, made you more susceptible to reading the whole thing. But you need to keep it easy. Keep your eyes casting over it. Make it something simple to read. TLDR means too long, didn't read, basically. So keep it compacted. Keep it answering questions. Keep it to the point. Separate with headings that answer questions. Include calls to action because it continues the journey, similar to what I showed you there with that Visit Belfast blog. Get them to click onto another page, get them to go somewhere else, get them to continue their journey with you on the website. And then optimize your page. So looking at your titles, your URL, your meta descriptions that we just looked at there, all very, very important. So link building, that is a very jarring color of pink, apologies. I think that's my brand pink rather than the color pink that I wanted to use. So what is link building? So link building is the process of getting other websites to link back to your website. And that's from a very useful website called WordStream. So link building is important because links are one of the major ranking factors of search engines. Search engines such as Google look at the quantity of high quality inbound links to your website when they crawl. The higher quality links a website has, the better it will rank. Google is all about the experience, and they want you to have everything just laid out in the most perfect possible way. I basically call it a shopping list whenever I'm referring to what Google wants. They want, those 4 pillars. They want good mobile experience. They want good menu experience. They want good copy. They want links around your website. They want links coming out of your website. They want links coming into your website. It's exhausting. But it is worth it if you get into a good, consistent rhythm whenever you're creating content of kind of hitting all those factors that they want. So link building for internal links. So again, internal linking helps continue the customer journey. It enhances time spent on a site and provides opportunity for additional research and sales. So what you can see here is a little close-up of that article that I showed you earlier. At the bottom of that, there's a little read more button, and it takes you, you can see here, there's 4 different options that you can then click into different similar articles. And it's also very important that they're all articles that you are likely to click on as well. You don't want to just be throwing something completely random in the middle of that. These, if you're interested in food, it's likely that you're going to be interested in nightlife, what's going on locally, restaurants that are open on Monday and Tuesday, and then what you can see there, which is Belfast, or for Sunday lunch in Belfast. So these are all internal, keeps the journey continuing within your own website. You then have outbound links. So outbound links are a way that people and search engines discover useful content. So they're important because they can improve organic traffic, they build trust, and even facilitate relationships with other businesses. So outbound links, you're like, why would I want somebody to leave my website once I have them there? I don't want them to go away. First of all, make sure if you are creating a link that takes you out of the page, that it opens a new page. So you're not shutting down your page, it opens a separate tab. That's important to do. The other thing is it can actually be really useful. So what I'm thinking about here is like, if you go to a new business and you want to know who they've worked with, so for the PR companies that are here today, you'll probably have a client list, who we work with on your website. You don't want that not going anywhere. If you've got a really high profile client, you want people to be able to click on that and go, do they work with them? And it takes them through to their website. You're like, oh my goodness, that is who I thought they work with. That's a really good client to have. They're very similar to us, or we really respect them as a brand. So these are, we want to work with you because you work with them. So that's whenever outbound links can be really useful to a website and not, don't detract from you as a business. They build trust and facilitate relationships as well. And also they kind of help in this link building backlink kind of scenario if it's worthwhile for you as a business. So backlinks are, I call them the currency of the web. They're kind of a digital recommendation. They're like a peer-to-peer recommendation. So a high amount of links pointing to a particular page on your site will provide a signal to Google that the page is important, so long as it's done naturally and not in a spammy way. So again, like I was talking about those Panda Pigeon updates, one of them was to prevent spammy backlinking. So, you know, if a, I don't know, like a car mechanics garage linked to my website, that's of absolutely no benefit to either of us. It's not really worthwhile. It's not relevant. Google will look at that and go, no. However, if you are linking to industry, and I've got a little list here, they can prove very useful. So ways that you can do that is creating quality content that people want to share. So if they share it naturally, it creates a backlink. You can utilize relevant with industry websites. Perhaps you're part of a membership organization or part of a body, that could work really well for you. With Visit Belfast, for example, sorry to use them as an example again, but the thing is there, you've got a lot of very small, a lot of big accommodation providers, but also a lot of small accommodation providers or restaurants or tours guides or whatever, potentially don't have that presence and the strong referring backlinks. But with Visit Belfast, linking back to them, that's obviously a high quality, high traffic website, pointing to them, referring to them, giving them that digital recommendation that I mentioned. So your links should come from high domain authority websites. Edu, Gov, Org are all obviously educational government orgs, typically kind of charity based or public space based, and they are, high authority, high ranking domains themselves. Editorial publishing outlets, of course, you want Vogue linking to your website, why not? Businesses in your industry, talking between each other, working with each other, always really beneficial. Niche forum links or Reddit, for example, is also another form of backlinking. So if you are working in a specific industry and there's a really big forum associated with that, I don't know, like Mumsnet or something, for example, that's a big website. And if they refer back to you, again, it's adding that level of authority. Social media still counts. Directories, very important, like if you've got membership bodies or something like that, and then blogs as well. These are all great ways of link building. Now, I am going to include follow, non-follow, because I've had a couple of questions about this in the past. It's not really something for this industry to really worry about. It's a bit more technical and but anyway, we'll include it. So no follow is a tag that's added to a link. It tells search engines don't count this link as an endorsement, basically. So we're talking about backlinks, but basically a no follow tells you not to count it. But when it comes to SEO, on the whole, you do want the do follow links, essentially. But what you might consider using non-follow links are for paid links. For example, a campaign that might soon be over and the web page is not going to be relevant for very long. And you're already getting that additional boost because you're paying for it. And SEO is not really going to come into it because, it might take a while to rank and, maybe the campaign's over in a couple of weeks' time. Comments that might have links, you might not want that, kind of just depends on the nature of what people are commenting. Forums, and anything to do with what Google calls untrusted content. So again, things that you can't really rely upon. I just thought I would touch on that anyway. So, okay. Oh, I'm kind of sticking to my time here. Happy days. I was a little bit worried because I could go on for a while. So we're going to look at Google tools now for about 10 minutes, and then we'll take some questions and we'll take a wee break as well. So I just have 4 tools that I want to show you. So we're going to look at Google Analytics. We're going to look at Google Search Console, apologies. We're going to look at Google My Business and Google Pagespeed Insights. So Google Analytics, really, really useful for SEO because, again, you can see if your efforts are working when it comes down to it. You can track website traffic. You can look at your audience, who your audience are, where they're coming from, male or female, age range, even what device they're using. You can see acquisition. What I mean by that is what channels basically people are coming through from. Are they coming organically? Are they coming direct? Are they coming through paid media? Are they coming through other referral websites? Where are they coming from? Behavior once they're on site, like what's the most popular pages, apologies. And then conversions if you've got kind of a selling platform. Again, something else that you can do is track campaigns. So there is a campaign URL builder. I'm sure most people are aware of it, but just in case you're not, basically what you can do is you can go to a campaign URL builder. Just Google that. I think that the URL is a wee bit more complicated. It's like .dev or something. And you can create a unique URL for your campaigns. So if you're doing something, I don't know, maybe around Christmas or something like that, you could label it Christmas 2022. So whilst all the traffic will come through and you'll be able to see it as normal within Google Analytics, you'll also be able to go into a campaigns tab, and you'll be able to track all the activity that happened within that one campaign. And then that's great for you to keep record of, or to potentially report back to your clients with. Just depends on the nature of what you do. Something to be aware of, and bane of my life right now, is the fact that in 2023, Universal Analytics as we know it, the Google Analytics as we see it, will be changing. They're sunsetting it entirely to be replaced with what's known as GA4. So Google Analytics, you can run it alongside GA4 as it stands right now. I actually, if I were you, would install both on your own and on client websites. You can run them side by side, literally no issue. You just click into which one you want to look at. You can install it, not an issue at all. And in fact, I would recommend you do it sooner rather than later, because once that sunsets or stops basically being supported, it stops existing, is what sunsets means in tech terms. In July next year, I know it seems ages away, bear with me. If that sunsets and you don't have GA4 set up, there's going to be a gap in your reporting. And for a lot of businesses, that's going to be a real issue. But basically GA4 will allow you to track across devices, across platforms. It maybe you have an app as well and things like that, which is a great idea. But anybody who's looked at GA4, it is very different and very scary looking to what you currently have with Universal Analytics, which is definitely more easy to understand. It's just another platform we're going to have to learn. I'm in the process of getting training myself, because I know it's going to be really important. My clients are going to ask me questions, and also I'll probably end up providing training myself. So I'm looking at it really, really early. But just to make you aware, and maybe this will go out of your head in the future, please, if you remember, install GA4 now, let it run alongside for a while, and you don't have to worry about it next year. And if you forget, then it doesn't matter, because it will already be there and all your data will be backed up and carry through. Then you've got Google Search Console. So Google Search Console kind of goes hand in hand with analytics, and it's something that people tend to forget about a lot. It's a free platform, completely free, literally just Google Search Console. And log in. You can you got a little bit of code, put it into your website, tie it all together. And what it allows you to do is check for index content. This is really useful for websites that are publishing a lot of blogs, or need something, out there, because Google can take a while to index content. Google's pretty busy. So it might take a while for it to come out and be available. So what you can actually do once you have Google Search Console and it's all plugged in, you literally can type a URL in and see if it's indexed. And if it's not, you can politely request that Google kind of bump that up the queue. So it literally just asks you, force indexing, or request indexing, sorry. You can click on that, and like I say, it'll encourage Google to do it a little bit more quickly. It's also a platform for submitting your sitemap on. So every website should have a sitemap. You don't actually have to create it yourself. Your CMS system will create it for you. It's usually the name of your website /sitemap.xml or something similar to that. You log it into Search Console, and it's basically providing a Google a blueprint direct to Google, and Google will go, oh, thank you for this piece of information. I now know what all's on your website, and I will be a little bit nicer to you because I've got it all in front of me. Then you can also check for queries and search frequency. So this is really good for keyword research as well. So what you can do is there's a little functionality within Search Console, and it will show you how what people are searching for to find your website, and how often you're coming up in that search result, and how many times people are clicking that. So you can see if you're not really ranking for the keywords that you want to, or if you're ranking for keywords that you never thought you would be ranking for. So it's a really, really useful tool, completely free. Definitely check in on a regular basis. And then finally, oh no, sorry, Google My Business, is next. Google My Business, it's basically that little knowledge panel on the right-hand side whenever you Google something. Sometimes you see it, well, you always see it before you go to the website, unless you're typing in the URL directly. But sometimes it provides you enough information that you don't actually need to visit the website. So therefore, it's important to make sure that that is kept up to date and it has all the relevant information on it. You have everything from your contact details, map of where you are, pictures. Always try to have a picture of like what you look like from the outside as well as the inside, so people know what to look for when they may be driving to you, and then also what to expect when you're there inside as well, so there's no nasty surprises. Reviews about the business, always encourage reviews. It's always important to see what people think of others, and Google reviews are so important. It allows you to provide a little bit about you. It allows you to post events, link your social media. You can also post additional photos, all really important stuff. In fact, in a lot of business cases, people will just see the Google Search Console, or not, sorry, they'll see the knowledge panel, the Google My Business, and they'll not need to go any further because you provided enough information there already. Which is great, because potentially they might, click on a competitor site, but if you're answering the questions about your business and it's showing up there, first of all, happy days. I love how it says that I was here 5 years ago. I literally live on the corner there all the time. And then this is final, Google Pagespeed Insights. So this is a really handy tool. Again, you can just Google it, Google Pagespeed Insights. This is a Google development tool, completely free. All you do is fire in the URL of the website that you're looking to test and see how they're performing. And it'll give you details on the page speed, its responsiveness, how it's performing. And it'll tell you the difference between mobile and desktop. A lot of times you'll find that the desktop performs a lot more strongly than mobile because you're just not quite there yet developmentally on your mobile website. And a strong mobile website is so important. Google views the internet as mobile first. So apologies, by the way, I am only referring to Google. Other platforms are available, but over 93% of searches are carried out on Google. So we'll just call it Google. So make sure that your website is mobile responsive and up to scratch and fast loading and all the rest of it. This will literally break down everything that's wrong with your website. It'll provide feedback on where you can improve it, color codes them, tells you how important or how urgent a fix is required. It's just great. And a lot of it's very technical, but you can send that back to a developer and they'll be able to work on the items there. To be honest, the developer should have lifted it in the first place, but if you maybe work with somebody new or they maybe haven't checked in on it in a while, it's a really good place to start to just check that your website's performing the way that it should. So that is the SEO and tools section of today completed. I'll just go in here and I think Morag and John are maybe going to have a wee look and question. Maybe nobody has any questions, who knows?
Hi, Emma, that was brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to be looking out for some spammy backlinking from now on. I love it. Yeah, we've got a couple of questions here. First one, which I think you've answered, but we can just do a very quick recap, was about how do you create page titles and meta descriptions yourself?
Yeah, so no, I just spotted that there, Danielle. Don't worry, no silly questions. So yeah, we did kind of cover it, so maybe you asked it before, but basically we're looking to go keyword first. So do your research, and then make sure that your titles are snappy, keep them under 60 characters. Something that somebody would ask, answer a question. We don't want to say announcing the all new blah, blah, blah. You want to say, something that answers a query, that solves a problem for something that somebody might be searching for. And then the meta description. Actually, meta descriptions aren't really that big a factor in SEO in technical terms. What they allow for is a bit more of a description about what you're about to find on the page. So that should be written in about under 60 characters. Think of it as a really short tweet that kind of explains what's on the page. And the way Normally, most websites, what they'll do, if you don't have some kind of SEO tool, or you've done a bit of SEO work in the background, like through those kind of screen grabs that I showed you earlier, they'll just pull through automatically like the first or second line of your website page. Sometimes that's great, but a lot of the times you could do something a little bit better. So definitely try to use a tool and then input it yourself.
Great. And then we've got two other questions which kind of link together a wee bit. So the first one is from Dan Cooper, and Dan would like to know, is there an optimal frequency for posting the aforementioned quality keyword-driven content on a page? So is it daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly? And when you post it, does it have an impact? And then the second part of the question, and if you remember both of these, Emma, I'll be very impressed, but I'll try it anyway. How do you make sure, this is from Amy Winter. Hello, Amy. How do you make sure that your content stays fresh and engaging when you're trying to get the same keywords in all the time?
Okay. Terms of frequency as frequent as possible. If you are a specialist website like Moz, for example, they literally publish like 3 blogs a day, and that's very difficult to keep up with. They've got like teams of 100 or whatever. I would at least try, if it's your own website, I would go for maybe a blog a week if you can. But then also, it's not just about blogs, it's about your own content on your website. Maybe you're providing a new service, for example, so you'll create a new page for that. Or potentially you might want to, what was I going to go with that? Blog content, new website pages. And every so often you might want to do, definitely want to do a quick overhaul of your website in general, and just see what your competitors are at, what kind of people are looking for in terms of services and things like that. And then just reimagine your website and what is missing currently. So there's other opportunities outside of just blogging to keep your website fresh and consistently publishing content. In terms of the other question, which I was being really clever about there, and I thought I remembered, and now I'm starting to forget it. So how do you ensure it stays fresh? Yes.
Sorry, that was very unfair of me, Emma. I apologize.
Don't worry. Do you know what's a really great example of that? Is a link that I actually have at the end of this presentation, which is Sprout Social have a always right or always correct or something it is, or always up to date social media sizes. This has never failed me in about 5 years, I think. Every month they go in and they will provide you with a list of social media sizes for organic and paid content across every platform that you can possibly imagine. And it tells you the right size, and it's always up to date. So that has now become kind of like the industry standard for where to refer back to, rather than the actual, individual platforms themselves. It's a really, really highly visited page, and it's just always fresh. Listen, there's always going to be content that goes out of date after a while, but there's things that come around like seasonally. So the reason I keep referring back to Visit Belfast is I used to work there. So what we would do, and it was a really high turnover of content and blogs and news and all the rest of it. But we would have seasonal content, for example. I mean, Christmas comes around every year. So we would create a Christmas blog, and it would always be, things to do on Christmas, and best places to see Santa Claus, which was always a popular page to go back to. And we would refresh that every year. It's a case of going back, looking at what's been the most popular and seeing how you can kind of reinvent the wheel. You'll have evergreen content that people will constantly go back to. So it's just a case of kind of making sure that you keep that as up to date as possible and finding a way around it.
Great. Emma, just a final question that's come in here. I think you've put the fear of got into everybody about the GA4. What are the best resources to learn about that? Is there something you can share at the end as well?
I'll be honest, I am currently working my way through LinkedIn, do really good courses. I have access, the one I know some of them are paid for and some of them aren't, but I don't know which ones are paid for and which ones aren't because I pay for a subscription. But I use LinkedIn a lot for these courses. But there will also be, I mean, it's really known. I actually joined a panel thing the other day and it really didn't give me any information. So I understand it's really difficult to find quality information. I would go to good resources such as LinkedIn, or find a Google specialist in your network if you can. There's a platform, a company called Learn Inbound. They're based in Dublin. They've actually just been merged, I think, with Digital DNA over here, which is like a marketing event. They do really, really great training courses, really good quality training courses in digital marketing. They're not cheap, but again, it's a really high caliber of teacher. And they will likely, if they aren't already doing one, I would say in the next month you'll see something from them as well. But it's really important to learn GA4. It's very jarring when you first see it, because it basically allows you to create your dashboards and everything, which is great, but it's also very complicated. So sorry I've put the fear into everybody, but just if you get on board now, by next year you'll be a pro.
Great advice. Okay, so we'll take a quick comfort break. We'll try and stick to the time and come back for 3:05. So that just gives everybody over 5 minutes. Hopefully that's enough time to put the kettle on, but thank you. See you soon.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So hopefully you've got a wee bit of a break there. And your head's not too blown by SEO. There's so much more to delve into, really, but we'll leave it there anyway. Like, we're going to jump into social media here. I'm aware there's a really wide range of an audience here from all different types of backgrounds and levels of knowledge. So there are some sort of more basics here. There's also a little bit more of a deep dive in here. So I just wanted to give you a bit of varied content. So, and actually you'll be happy to know I cut this down quite substantially. There was 85 slides in this deck, and I think I've got it down. Well, probably only took about 10 out, but I did manage to kind of whittle it down. Anyway, so the latest news in social media. Well, there's plenty going on. We'll not get into Twitter and Elon Musk and all that jazz. But the main updates are surrounding Instagram. So initially, one of the first things to talk about is how results are ranked. So a guy called Adam Misery is the head of Instagram. He is really, really good to follow. I recommend that you follow him for updates. He actually will, he comes on very frequently, especially at weekends. He'll do Ask Me Anythings, Q&As. He'll provide updates and kind of be the first place for breaking news for how things work and stuff like that. So he's really, really transparent, really, really good. So I do recommend following him. And he recently spoke about, well, it was a wee while back actually, but I thought it would be important to kind of filter through how results are ranked. So when I search for something on Instagram and you search for something on Instagram, we're not going to get the same results. So what appears when users search is defined by your own search history. So what you searched before and what you've kind of followed before, as well as the keywords that you're putting in, what they match, and the popularity of pages. So this kind of ties into you're meant to optimize your bio. So your bio is a prime place for keywords, essentially. Like, there is SEO element to Instagram. So what appears when people search is, like I said, defined by search history, but also by keywords. So making sure that your handle relates to your business is important, using keywords in your bio, using strong, relevant keywords and hashtags in your posts, all feeds through and helps you be found. Because Instagram's a really discoverable platform. You know, very frequently you will come across pages that you never thought to follow before, you'd never heard of before. Maybe you search for it, maybe your friends posted something, but it's very much a discovery platform. The algorithm is changing. It's very, very interesting. I could go off and on about this. Basically, Instagram are forever trying to catch up with or overtake competition. Previously, it was Snapchat. They destroyed, well, not destroyed Snapchat, but they whenever they brought out stories, it was just like, woohoo, bye, see you later. Now their competitor is, of course, TikTok, and they're doing everything that they possibly can to overtake TikTok. They're still obviously ahead of them in terms of like downloads and people on the platform, but TikTok is catching up faster than any other platform has done, or social media platform has done before. So what they're doing is, because so many people have complained in terms of like your feed, you know, I could be scrolling through my feed right now and I would see something from 5 minutes ago, and then 2 posts later it'll be something from a week ago that I've just completely missed. So what they're doing is kind of changing their scroll, like their homepage like area, and basically to flip between 3 different ways, and it's entirely up to yourself how that works. So you can see home, you can see favorites, or you can see following. And then you can also see two of those are done in chronological order. So it's literally what the last thing that was posted was. So it just means you're not missing out on things as much. So that's something to be aware of. There's also, I haven't mentioned here, but it's probably not nearly as relevant, but just so you're aware, there's a huge, paying content creators going on, like content creator funds and things like that, matching what TikTok are doing. Instagram are rolling that out as well to be paid for your content. You can also do ring-fenced content, so you can pay for access to that content. So what you can do is have a subscription, and everybody would see some of my posts, but some of them would be for people who pay, or lives could be gated or whatever through payment. So that's something else they're rolling out, kind of a mixture of another platform as well, but we'll not go down there. Then we've got, most recently announced, is the 3-story covers. So stories have got very, I don't know what's the word. There's a lot of stories kicking around. Basically, you go on, you could never possibly get through all your stories in one day. People are posting a lot of stories in one go. There's a lot of kind of like chat and lead up before people are showing what it is they actually want to talk about. And people are kind of getting tired of that. And it's, it's taking away from other content creators as well, pages, etc. So what they're talking about bringing in, and what they're currently testing, is a 3-story cover rule, where basically you will see the first 3 stories and then you have to do a purposeful tap in to see the rest of them. Otherwise, you will then move on to the next set of stories. So you could have 15 stories live. What you'll see is the first 3, and then you'll have to purposely decide to see the rest of it, or skip on through to the next set of stories, pretty much. So it kind of just stops all that. Hopefully decrease the amount of crap that you see in your feed, frankly. Typically what you'll see is a user drop off anyway between 5 and 7 posts on stories. I don't recommend ever having any more than that, to be honest. So Facebook, let's look at it quickly. We all know about Facebook. It was established in 2004, available to the public in 2006. Before that, you had to have certain email addresses. Technically, it's still the most popular social media channel in the world. It's got 3 billion active users. Now, active users means, well, every platform has a different version of what active users means, but most of them, followed by the rule, have logged in and accessed their account in the last month. So it has 3 billion active users. Community-based platform, most popular with 40-plus-year-olds. Everybody has a Facebook account, but not everybody uses it anymore. So, and because of that, you've seen kind of engagement has kind of dropped on Facebook, and it can be difficult to get the same kind of results as you used to be able to get. So it is slowing down due to the migration of other platforms, because people are moving over to TikTok and Instagram and spending more time there. So it's best to utilize Facebook really for what it's best at doing, which is for informing and educating, and speaking to a more mature audience who are more likely to spend more time on that platform. You can utilize the benefits of event creation, focus on video content to encourage engagement as well. Consider the creation of groups rather than pages if engagement is really poor, because Facebook is pushing communities over pages. And introducing a small monthly spend on important posts such as events should be considered, just to get it kind of up there. If somebody's on average will be spending maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes a day on Facebook, you want to make sure that your content's one of the first pieces that they see. So putting a spend behind that can be one of the ways that you can do that. When to post on Facebook. Now, whenever I say when to post, there's no definitive time for posting on any social media channel. Anybody who says there is just lying, basically. Not lying, but maybe they just don't really know any better. Everybody is different. You all have different audiences. There's obviously typical times when people are available, in the evenings or weekends or whatever. So there are kind of lineups of like a rough time of when to post, but every business is different and your audience is different. For example, this is quite niche, but Mothercare found that they actually were better posting into a group, but also in the middle of the night, because their core audience was young mothers who were maybe up multiple times during the night and were feeding and trying to look at their phone at the same time. So always post at different times. post different types of content and just test until you find out what works for you. I know this sounds obvious, but it's actually doing it that's really the thing. Never post last minute late at night. If you don't have anything to post and you're just posting for the sake of it, don't post it. If you're posting an engagement post, make sure that you're available to respond. The number of times that I see people posting content that asks a question or some kind of engagement and then just leaving it and ignoring people's comments below drives me crazy. If you want to get engagement from people, you have to engage yourself. Share responses and start a conversation, and check your insights to see when your followers are online and what previous posts have performed well. This is Facebook Insights. So it's an area where you can go in, or it's changed now, there's different page insights and things that you can see through Business Manager. And oh my goodness, there's so many areas in the back end of Facebook that you can check insights from. But this is pretty much, I've blocked bits of this out because I've obviously got client stuff in here. Check your post data, for example, your reach, your likes, your clicks, and your new followers. Find out your audience demographics. You can check what works best for posts or your general audience. Select your dates. You can find out, you can whittle down certain weeks or months back in the past to see what's worked best when. Find out also when your audience is actually online, like it will show you what days are most popular, what times people are most online, so you can post in accordance to those, and also see which of your posts performs best as well. So you can start posting the same kind of content over and over again. So if you know that videos works for you, but static images don't, then you want to post more video content. It's as simple as that. So Instagram, we're going to go into a bit more of a dive on Instagram because there are so many things that you can do in it. It was established in 2010, bought by Facebook in 2012. Second most popular social media channel in the world, and it is a visual platform, most popular with 25 to 40-year-olds, and direct competitor for Snapchat and now TikTok. I think TikTok might be winning soon. So there's so many types of posts on Instagram. They used to be IGTV, it's not there anymore. But your main ones are kind of your feed, your story, your reel, and your guides as well. Guides haven't been as popular as I think that Instagram wants them to be, but they are a really, really good tool that you could use in the case of some businesses, just depending on what you're publishing. And basically, they're like little mini blogs. So what are you posting on Instagram? Well, you post on your grid, as in feed kind of area, about your products, your big news or services. It's your shop front. It's where people go and they see you. If they've never heard of you before and they're going to your page, everything that's put in front of them will give them your, will help form their opinion of you. So keep it tidy, keep it on brand, quality imagery, fits your aesthetic. Some people prefer a theme. Maybe everything's pink, or maybe some people, I think it's kind of going a little bit out of fashion, but when you post 3 pictures and goes across the grid, and it could be nice to start a new grid with, but keeping that up is very tiresome. Your guides will provide an opportunity to inform or educate your audience when you have a little more to say. So you could do sort of like a top 10 or something like that. Stories, you can share some of your feed on stories or show off new products. You can do quick updates, face to camera, start polls, engage in Q&As, did you know, for etc. It's a little bit more casual. Do you know what's really good for stories actually is creating more content or getting ideas for creating content. So what you can do is things like, did you know that we do this? If somebody asks back, no, you can create content around that, or ask me anything, and you go back in, and then, for example, something really good is locally here, there's Katrina Doran. She does a thing on Sundays. It's like skincare Sundays, and what she does is just create a post. People message her, or they answer the Q&A box, and then she answers all their questions, and it's a great form of content creation. And then from that, she can learn what people don't know about skincare, and then can create content around that. So it's a great way of asking a question and getting an answer from somebody who's actually on your page and engages in your page can be really, really useful, because then you can create the kind of content that they want to see. Reels can provide behind the scene info, skits to camera, industry jokes, tutorials. They should be quality, catchy, and on trend. Reels are really discoverable. So think about somebody who's never met you coming across you. What would they think? What would they, you don't want them to come across you going, who on earth is this nutter? Make sure it's something that's on brand and it's good quality as well. A little thing that I will say is Instagram, do not take kindly to you reusing TikTok posts onto your reels, they'll spot the watermark and they'll downgrade your content. So your feed. So by the way, this is a lovely page that I follow. See if you're fed up of all the doom and gloom. I know it's very important to keep up with the news and things, but sometimes it can get a bit much. There's a lovely Instagram page called The Happy Broadcast. And it's good news only. And it's usually about like the environment and animals and nice things that have happened around the world. So it's quite nice for a daily dose of something a little bit more happy. So this is a good example of a feed and a grid, their home grid. So this is your home, layout your shop. People have already found you, make sure they stay, post quality content, try your posting times and try your hashtags. Try all different types of content to find out what your audience reacts best to, basically. Your stories. This is my dog. She is the queen. I took this on her birthday. It was a while ago. This is Poppy, by the way. So your stories are your comfy clothes, so a little bit more casual and relaxed. You can use it to nurture your audience, give them a little bit more personality about you as a brand or a person or whatever. They disappear after 24 hours. They can be saved to highlights. Don't have to have a minimal following anymore to click to link. You said have to have like 10,000 to do a swipe up. Now I've got the nice little link stickers. Again, post 5 to 7 times per week, multiple stories, 5 to 7 max, but soon it'll be 3. Well, you can post more than that, but people might not view them. Again, trial posting times and types, and engage with your audience with polls, Q&As, etc. Highlights. So this is ASOS's. This is theirs. There's a really good example because they're color coded, they're on brand, they tell you exactly what's in each one of them. So here you can store the stories that you want to keep. Remember to refresh this. So some of the content can be evergreen, maybe like a little bit of information about the business or whatever. But the number of times I go, particularly to like, I do a lot of work in the hospitality industry. And sometimes I go to like hotel pages or restaurant pages and I'm like, this is a menu from last year. Surely you've changed something. Or it's talking about upcoming events, but now the event happened like 3 months ago. Make sure you're refreshing your highlights. There's nothing worse than going there to look for snappy content that, you know, is meant to answer a question, but then is all full of old stuff. Make sure the content's really useful. You could use it for tutorials, seasonal information, informative menus, things like that. And again, there's no minimal following required to link those because obviously they're from the stories. So Reels, big discoverability opportunities here. Reels are, I always say, and I think I post this, whatever Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever are pushing, jump on board straight away because you will be rewarded for your hard work. There's a big discoverable opportunity for Reels at the moment. Ideally, I know this isn't feasible for a lot of businesses, but ideally you'll be posting multiple times a day. You're looking for kind of TikTok-esque content to 1 minute long. Typical audience is millennials and Gen Z. Don't forget millennials is up to like 39, I think, 40 years old. So not as young as you think they might be. Behind the scenes content, jokes to camera, industry specific, Instagram's current preferred content, and create unique non-watermark content. So again, do not repurpose your TikToks. So tips for Reels, use 7 to 12 second Reels if you can. You can do longer, they can go up to a minute, but these ones seem to perform the best. Trending audio, look for trending audio, put people in right at the beginning, always end with a call to action, a reason for something to go somewhere or do something. Share a grid in your story, don't use too much text, it's all about the video, and don't delete, be confident and be consistent. Sometimes if you haven't got a little bit of a pickup on your Reels, people tend to go, oh, we're just going to delete that. Don't, because it could be like 3 days later, it'll go viral. I mean, viral is obviously the dream, doesn't always happen, but you could get more of a reach than you think you're going to. So guides are perfect for sharing curated, scrollable content. They're kind of like a microsite within Instagram. You can do step-by-step guides, you can do tips and recommendations, and again, blog type content as well. So like top 10 products or destinations, for example. Again, you can share this onto your stories and feed. So it's all about the hashtags. So here is a mixture of just kind of good practice and also some things that Instagram have told us. So you can use up to 30 hashtags per post, but I recommend aiming for around 8 to 12, which is what Instagram have told us. Instagram say to include in posts and not in comments. So don't post something and then add a comment and then put your hashtags in there. They want it in the post itself. Niche it. Make sure that your hashtags are relevant and they're not generic like hashtag Instagram or hashtag InstaDaily. Do your research on them. Find out what works. Check what your competitors use tools, whatever you need to do. Tie in the trends if you can. And you can use hashtag generators as well to help you do some testing. And just a reminder as well to optimize your bio, quality profile images, what you do, where you do it, who you do it for, how you can help someone, link to your website. Keywords are key because, again, you are searchable. It's kind of like SEO. You need to have the right words there. Again, when to post on Instagram. So again, people, it's different depending on your audience. Never post last minute, late at night. If posting an engagement post, same as Facebook, make sure that you're available to respond, share responses, start a conversation, use polls and Q&As for ideas for posts as well. Link in bio is something that is really, sorry, I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm speeding through this. I'm going to try and settle it down, but we just have so much to get through and I want to have time to answer your questions as well. Link in bio will allow users to browse links that you have talked about, either in grid or in story. So you'll have seen them on loads of Instagram posts as well. What you'll see is links through, because obviously you've only got room for one link on Instagram. What you'll need to do if you've got individual posts that might want to direct somebody, link in bio can be really good for that. So it allows you to basically replicate your grid, but these will actually link to somewhere. So you can do them in Linktree is a platform you can use. Link in bio is another platform you can use. Or you can actually create one in Canva if you're a little more technically minded, because you can actually create links within Canva and use it as kind of a base. So yeah, it can be a really useful tool to use as well. So TikTok, just a small amount on TikTok because I know it's obviously very prevalent at the moment. It was established in 2016 as, I can't pronounce this, Douyin, I think it was called. And then it merged with Musical.ly in 2017, and then it launched as TikTok in 2018. It is the fastest ever growing social network. It hit 1 billion downloads in 2020 already, and it has more than 775 active users. That should be million active users in 2022. Video only, and it performs best with Gen Z. But, and it should be remembered, it is not just for the young people. Over 65% of TikTok are over the age of 20, and 39% of them are over the age of 30 as well. So it is a platform, and it's growing and changing, and more downloads are happening every day. So it is not just for a younger audience. Every time I talk to a business about TikTok, they're like, oh, it's just a pile of like young girls like singing into their hairbrushes or something. I'm like, no, that's like TikTok 3 years ago. TikTok now is very, very different. It's got its own spaces for different things. You know, there's plant talk if you want to learn how to look after your plant. There's dog training videos. There's house decorating and art videos. There's comedy videos in there as well, obviously, and like there are a lot of popular TikTok dances and things like that. But it is very much a transforming platform that a lot of businesses will have to get on board with soon enough. It's not for every business though, because on the flip side of that, I also have a lot of businesses coming to me going, Emma, should we be on TikTok? I'm like, no, you shouldn't. It's not for every business industry, but also it's not for every business. If you don't have the time to create that content, and if you don't have the knowledge to create quality content, don't just create an account for the sake of it, because it could blow up in your face, you know, and it could be a waste of your time whenever you could be focusing on other key accounts and on platforms. One thing I will say is a lot of businesses tend to try and do everything. And if you don't have the resources and the ability, you can't be everywhere at once. And what you'll end up doing is just posting the same 3 posts across 3 different social media platforms and just saying the same thing whenever your audience is different across each. So make sure you have the time, make sure you have the resources, make sure it's suitable for you as an industry and you as a business before you start just with new social platforms. So benefits of TikTok. If you can't do it, it's a growing platform. It's huge and it's just going to get bigger. and it has so many different things that you can do on it, especially in terms of like even money making now. You know, you've got the content creator fund, you've TikTok houses popping up left, right, and center for creators all living together, creating content. And it's very, very popular. It's very easy, I'm sure, as anybody who knows who is on TikTok regularly, to get lost in it. You know, you can easily be on there for an hour, and if you're shameful like me, sometimes you get the 1 hour video that just tells you you've been on there for too long. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. There's a lot of content that you can get through. You can reach new audiences very, very easily. Discoverability is very, very high. It links to other networks. It's not as afraid to have, you know, creators on TikTok can have a button that takes you through to Instagram. They're not afraid of, you know, having other links. You can't go into Instagram and link straight through to TikTok. It doesn't work like that. Whereas TikTok don't have that fear. They're like, yeah, we know you're probably going to have another account. There you go. You can go and have a look at them. You can go through that, and then you'll probably come back to TikTok. There's a new younger audience opportunities. People obviously increase with age. So if you get somebody on board at a certain age, they're going to grow with you as a business. It builds community as well. There's a lot of people are very active, engaged. They talk to each other within TikTok. You know, there'll be certain creators that frequently do videos together and work together on projects, etc. And there's obviously a lot of influencer opportunities on TikTok as well. So what are you posting on TikTok? Well, behind the scenes, a day in the life, how we do this. If you've got a product that's really viral, give a bit more information about it, or you know, make jokes about it not coming into stock. Like something really popular that I see quite a lot on like makeup stuff is like, you know, people like crying, you know, freaking out because a big content creator has posted about a certain product, and they're like, we know now that it's going to sell out, we're not going to be able to get a hold of it, which almost then makes you go, oh, I don't even know what this is, and I haven't seen that initial one. And then you go and you click through that creator's video and you go, oh, they really like it, maybe I should buy it. And from that initial, like that one person might only have like 100 followers and I just happened to see them. But now I'm taken through to something and suddenly I really, really want a product. So those are the kind of things that you could do on TikTok. Events, you can show real stories of people's experience, what they've learned, how they enjoy their time, get ready with me, lead up to an event, prep behind the scenes again, user-generated content. So you can do like a day in the life, or you can do actual like user-generated content from those who have experienced your product or service or experience, share an honest review and allow people, there's another spelling mistake, sorry, to know what to expect. People like to see real content. It's not all necessarily about the polished kind of content. People want to see real reviews. They want to see how people react. They want to see, you know, make jokes about, you know, so many jokes on TikTok about people's lives together and like, you know, couple things that you do or things that you do with your best friend, or, you know, things that your dog gets away with in any given day. They want real content. Facts as well. Informative content works really well. TikToks don't need to be long. They can be 15, 20 seconds. And as long as they're attention grabbing and interesting. So remember, what seems like normal daily info to you as a business could be really interesting to somebody who's never heard about you before or who has never experienced what you have to offer before. LinkedIn, I am going to touch on just a bit because I'm aware that some people like to do a bit of branding through LinkedIn. Established in 2003, it's primarily used for B2B. It was acquired by Microsoft in 2016, which is why its ad platform's so crap. 43% of marketers say they have sourced at least one customer from LinkedIn, and it's popular with a wide range of ages. Typically, a lot of graduates will come on there, be really active for a year or two, then get their jobs and try and drop off. And then they'll jump back on maybe in their mid-20s once they realize the kind of value of LinkedIn and growing your network and learning more and all the rest of it. LinkedIn's a really, really great resource, actually. There's a lot of educational tools on there as well. So how LinkedIn ranks. LinkedIn will factor in things like dwell time, which is how long you spend looking at content. So it is actually quite intuitive. For all my jokes, I do actually love it. It's one of my few platforms. The longer users spend looking at your post, the more interested the algorithm thinks they are. So it'll show you more of their content. The algorithm is amplifying conversations around sensitive topics like well-being and mental health after seeing an upsurge in these topics on the platform. So anything that's, I don't want to say mental health is trending, but if it is something that's popular that's causing people to have proper, good, heartfelt conversations, it will amplify that content. Your content doesn't have to be strictly professional. LinkedIn won't penalize posts that discuss personal growth. Post authentic, relevant content. LinkedIn will downrank posts that are purely aimed at generating engagement with no value. Make posts or polls, insightful and only use whenever needed. So how are you going to create this content? We're talking about it all. What are you going to use? How are you going to do it? I'm going to talk you through some 3 really basic things here, and you're all going to go, well, obviously we know to do that. The thing is, are you actually doing it? That is the difference. Scheduling your content in advance. Really, really useful. Set a day aside, get it done. Sometimes this is really overlooked and you end up just posting stuff on the hop and you're not really putting the time and thought process into it that you should be, that you know you should be, but something else keeps coming up and you know yourself how it gets. Try find the time for it. Just say Monday, 12 till 3, maybe get lunch in between, is my content scheduling day. Even if you can just do it for the week, it will really set you up and you'll be prepared, and it'll keep clients happy and it'll keep your business good and all the rest of it. You can use native or third-party tools. So Facebook, you can schedule. In the back end, you can do it for both for Instagram and Facebook. But for other platforms like LinkedIn, for example, you're going to need to use a third-party tool, or you might just want to use a third-party tool because you're using multiple platforms and you want to keep it all in one space. So ones that I recommend are Hootsuite. Canva's rolling something out if it hasn't already. Loomly is another one. Creator Studio is a Facebook and Instagram one. I actually use a platform called Publer, I don't know how you're going to pronounce it. It doesn't look amazing. It's very, very basic, but it's cheap. It's very easy to use, and it's never let me down once, not once. And you can also provide different levels of access for other people as well, which is really good. So if you've got a client that needs to double check your work or something like that, or sign it off before it goes out, you can do that. I think it's like £1 to add them on. I think for a couple of accounts it's free, and then once you up to a certain amount you pay for it, and it's like it literally was like £1 for me to add a client on the other day because I was going away on holiday. A content calendar, I know, boring, but a must. Plan out annually, monthly and quarterly. So what I like to do is like an annual overview. I know you can't see it here. I actually have a massive calendar on this wall over here. It's humongous. And it just tells me what dates are coming up. And if nothing else, I can highlight it whenever I'm going on holiday, and it gives me something to look forward to as I'm walking out the door. But what an annual plan can do, I'm not saying fill in every space, but, fill in Christmas, fill in Valentine's Day, fill in, your seasonal holidays, your national days, fill in the times where maybe that stock's going to be coming in or going out, or something's going to be popular, or just things that you are absolutely certain of, that sometimes it catches up with you and it catches you off guard. Then quarterly, keep an eye out for upcoming events and items to be aware of, and then do your monthly day-to-day content, and then start with the big stuff and then continue into content pillars. So content pillars we're going to talk about in a second. They're really, really useful ways of kind of segmenting out your content so you're not posting about the same things over and over again. So if you're going to create a content calendar, I have a colleague that laughs at me because he uses like some fancy thing. I don't. I either use Google Sheets or Excel. It works for me. I like it, and I'll hear nothing against it. Other people will use like scheduling platforms and professional content calendars. Again, whatever works for you. Content pillars are great because, like I say, they stop you posting too much of the same thing. They'll make you think about what your followers might be missing from you, and they'll get you to kind of divvy up your content. So basically, think of about 4 different areas of content that you could create, and then subsection it into different types of content. And you'll probably, if you divvy it up into like 4 content pillars and think of like 3, 4, 5 things that you could post that are related to that kind of area, you've got 20 days worth of content. Bish, bash, bosh, done. So you've got your entertain, your educate, your inspire, and your convert. These are all different things that you could be thinking about. So don't forget about brand consistency. Make sure that your brand is instantly recognizable. It adds trust, it adds gravitas. Instantly, like I go here, I don't even shop on Boohoo, but I knew immediately it was Boohoo. Nike, very, very recognizable. And this is a local brand as well, Memento in Belfast. They're a plant shop. They're just a really small shop, but they do really, really great content. I think it helps plants, and they're all very pretty and visual, and they take really good quality imagery. But it's a lovely example of a small business doing a great job on Instagram. Choose your colors, choose your theme, keep videos and images of high quality, and keep videos and images consistent. So don't just spout loads of different types of stuff and people don't really know what to expect from you. And the other thing is consistency in terms of actual posting. Like, don't just post loads and then stop for a couple of weeks. These are some editing tools, if anybody's interested, that I use. So on the left-hand side there, it's more image-based. So we've got Snapseed, Afterlight, and Canva. So the first two, Snapseed and Afterlight, are very good at like editing things just to make them look better. Canva is, anybody who doesn't use it, get on board. This presentation was made in Canva. I also resize images, create social media content. I even create reports within it because it allows me to drag and drop images really, really easily. You can share documents with other people. It's brilliant. I love it. Then on the right-hand side, we have Film, Splice, Quick, and Made. These are really good video editing tools as well. Other tools are available. These are just ones that came immediately off the top of my head. And they're just good. They're just good apps for helping you edit videos up or adding effects and stuff like that. I think Adobe Spark is really good as well. So if you're stuck for content ideas, here is a little tip for you. You can see what your competitors are doing. So what you can do is go to Facebook. If you go to a particular page, I've just chosen Discover Northern Ireland here. If you go to their page, on the left-hand side, scroll down to page transparency, it'll open up this box that you see in the middle here. And you'll click go to ad library, and it's going to show you all the ads that they're currently running. Or you can click back and see ads they've previously run. And what that'll do is give you ideas for content. You can see it, you can go, oh, that's really nice, or I like that. And you can do that. It doesn't show everybody's. Smaller pages sometimes don't come up. But if you want to see what other people are doing, and you can't see their stats, I'm afraid, but you can just see what it looks like, the copy that they've used. And it's really good for driving ideas. So yeah, just go to Facebook, go to the left-hand side, and it will show you both Instagram and Facebook as well, guys. So when it comes to advertising, before I say anything else, actually, and I should have written this, please, 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 please do not boost posts. Boosting posts is a waste of your money. It's a waste of your clients' money. It's not going to get you the results that you want. And it's not going to be shown to the right people. Please always create your ads in Ads Manager if you're doing Facebook or Instagram ads, that is. And at the moment, I really feel for people who are doing, currently, I've been quite lucky. I haven't had to do any social media advertising in 2022. I finished up doing a project in December. And that was the last time I've used it. So it is currently in a state of flux. The number of people I have contacted me on a daily basis going, I can't get my results, or this ad's being turned down, or there's no reason for this ad not to show, but it's just not showing, or it's active but it's getting zero reach, but it's spending money and I don't understand why. It's in a complete state of flux. The social media ad industry at the moment is crazy. Between all the different issues that Facebook have had, the focus has been on Instagram and their improvements to get over TikTok. Then we've got Apple ads coming in and causing problems, and then we've got the iOS update that is stopping not stopping you from seeing ads, which some people thought would actually happen, but it just means that you're not being targeted more specifically. So it really is a bit of a shambles at the moment. So I do feel for anybody out there running ads at the moment, it can be difficult to see their true results. But stick with it. It will be fixed soon. Some accounts are having absolutely no problems, and you're kind of like, oh, what are you talking about? But I have a lot of clients and I have a lot of colleagues who are just at the moment, and they're just banging their head off a wall. But if you are successful in running ads and everything's going okay, happy days. Whenever, I'm just going to give you some tips here for setting up, because I'm just very conscious of time. Please consider your frequency whenever you're setting up an ad. So whenever you're setting up a social media ad, you will be given the opportunity to select the frequency at which your ad is shown to people. Think about your own, don't think about it as, oh, as much as I can get it out in front of people, the better. Think about it as you as a user. If you see something too often, you're going to hit those three buttons. There are three dots at the top right, and you're going to say, stop showing ad. You're going to be fed up with it. So think about what's a non-annoying amount of times that you'd expect to see an ad in a given week or month or whatever. I tend to usually go with about maybe 3 times per week. Consider your platforms and your formats. So what I mean by that is, what type of ads are going to be shown where, what is the most popular on Facebook, what is the most popular on Instagram, utilize those. Also, whenever you're creating an ad, you're going to be shown, like default, Facebook will just select every possible type of ad. So you're going to be shown in like Messenger, you're going to be shown in Reels, not Reels, in like, they call it in Reel, but not real Reels, in Reel video, which is basically where somebody's watching a video and then next thing the ad pops up. If you don't have a video as your ad, this person's going to be watching a video, la 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 la, and then next thing, just this crap static's going to come up in front of them. They're going to be like, eh. It's going to be very jarring for them. So consider the kind of content that you're putting out there and what platform you're selecting for your ads. I recommend whenever you run ads that you go into your reports and you select where it's been displayed and how that's performed for you. Everybody's different, so I'm not saying this is fact, but I often find that placements such as Messenger, Marketplace, in Reel video, like I just mentioned there, they don't perform very well. So I tend to just actively remove them and keep them in the main kind of things like, stories, feed, things like that. But everybody will be different, so please do your research before you decide on that. And create your ads suitable sizes for each format. So once you get to the end of your ad creating process, I would love to go through the whole ad creating process with you, but obviously we're not going to have time for that. But you'll go through the whole process, and at the very end, whenever you're creating your artwork, you do have the option of uploading different artwork to go alongside each ad placement that you've selected. So make sure that you're doing that. So you know yourself again, whenever you're going through Instagram stories, for example, every so often you see like this like square static image, and there'll be some copy that's cut off at the end. That's not a good user experience. It doesn't look good for the brand. You're not going to likely click on it to make a purchase or find out more. What should be there is a purpose-made story advert. So think about that. Think about if you're creating ads for a client or for yourself, think about the different dimensions that you're going to need to give a really good user experience and encourage a click-through. And make them quality, make them the right size. Create a pixel to allow remarketing, the sooner the better. So your pixels can date back 90 days, no, it's 120 days. And what it is, it's basically a little bit of code. You can create it in your business manager, and you can create a pixel, get a developer, or if you know how to do it yourself, happy days, put it into your website. What that does, a pixel is basically a cookie tracker, and it will allow you to remarket to people who have already been to your website. Also, don't forget to remarket to those who have already seen your content and engaged. So what's a really good tip there is playing a video. People who have watched it for more than 3 seconds will have shown a little bit of interest. You can actually select that as an audience whenever you're creating your next ad. And then also don't forget, if they've already seen that previous ad, you want to give them something a little bit more new and different in the new ad in terms of the copy or the creative itself. So create different audiences, create different content to suit those audiences as well. Influencers, very quickly. Choose relevant influencers that are a good fit. Don't be choosing people who are random, because people will see straight through that. Do your research, make sure that they actually have engagement and they're putting out good content and they're not just buying followers. Spread the content out. In my opinion, my humble opinion, there's nothing worse than seeing a bunch of influencers just doing activity around one thing at one time. It's a bit disingenuous, because then you don't hear about it again for like 6 months or until the next time they do a bite of activity. If you can, spread it out. And that's why ambassadorships are really good, because it creates a bit more authenticity, because maybe if they're using a product, say a tan or something like that, they'll show it to you every time they're going out. It's kind of more of the experience. Establish brand guidelines with your influencers, so that they're not going off and doing their own thing and making variations of your guidelines or whatever, or of your logos. Create a contract with them, make sure that they know exactly what they're meant to supply you, when, and for how much. And then internal comms, I'll not say where I was, but we had a series of one person organizing stuff with influencers that wasn't in the digital team, and then not telling us. And then I would come in on Monday and I'd be like, oh, did you see so-and-so was out? And I was like, well, I didn't share any of their stories or interact with them in any way, because I didn't know they were doing anything, because you didn't tell me. So it's really important that you have internal comms and keep up that communication, so that people know who's doing what, when, where, and how. So just to finish off, some tips and tricks before we go to our next sort of Q&A session. So test your link versus photo. Sometimes Facebook doesn't really like it for users to leave the page. So instead of sharing a link on your page and that creating, you know, that little preview of photography, put a photo in and then do the link separately. Use your insights to see when people are online and what they like to help you figure out what content to post and when, and then utilize something called a campaign tracking URL. We talked about that earlier a little bit, to create new URLs to track your ads, your social pages, etc. You can do that all within Google Analytics under Campaign Finder. Make your stills into videos. If you're struggling to get engagement and you don't really have the facility to do videos, don't endorse doing this all the time, but it can help. Make your still image or your static image into like a 1 to 2 second video that loops. And it obviously takes more than a couple of seconds to read something or to process something. So it'll actually look to the platform like somebody's watched it maybe 6 times. So therefore it must be really good and then maybe promoted a little bit more. It's kind of a way of tricking the algorithm a wee bit. Ask your viewers what they want to see. So we talked about that before. Ask me anything, lives, things like that. Find out what they like and post that. Use that as content to post. Make sure that you're remarketing. If you can get somebody engaged, if somebody has shown that they've got an interest, make sure you're utilizing Pixel. You know, if somebody's been on your website, give them a little bit more. If somebody has watched or engaged with a video that you've done, remarket to them with something a little bit more informative. Use more video. People are so much more used to seeing video now. I know it's difficult to do and it costs money, but it really, really is important. Gimbals can be a really great way of making sure that everything stays very still and looks a bit more high quality. Different platforms for different audiences. Don't forget, not everybody's on the same platform. If your audience isn't on the platform, use your platform. But at the same time, don't try to do everything for everyone. Tailor your content to the platform. Don't just post the same thing across all their platforms because you're out of time. Always buy what Meta is selling. So as I mentioned before, every time a new format comes out, Meta, whether Facebook or Instagram, will always seek to push it. So your pages will benefit most from using the most recent formats. So think about, remember when Facebook Lives came out and you couldn't move for them appearing and getting notifications and all the rest of it. Or now you see Reels, and Reels are overtaking every kind of video content and even static content. So you'll see more and more of that. So if they are pushing something, jump on it straight away. What I have here is some links, a Moz glossary of terms, and whilst we're doing a wee Q&A session, I'll pop the links into the chat. A complete guide to link building as well, which should be helpful, and then a link to Answer the Public. Also have, if anybody's interested, some links here for blog posts, how Instagram works, ad tutorials, Canva, this blog that I mentioned actually earlier, to the girl that asked about keeping content and how you do that up to date, the always up to date social media sizes. If I don't get doing all of these, email me or catch me on LinkedIn and I'll send you the links, or maybe more, I can send them out. And then finally, I'm just going to peddle this, I'll not take too long. If this has been of interest to people and you think you want to know a little bit more, obviously I've squeezed quite a lot into this amount of time. I am running a course in September, dates to be confirmed, but basically 1 day a week. I'm going to run a session in the morning for people who are doing it through work, or one in the evening here for people who are doing it off their own bat. We'll do 6 weeks, introduction to digital marketing, we'll do social media, we'll do content creation, website management, writing for SEO, and data and analytics. 2-hour sessions over 6 weeks. And if you want to find out more about that, you can come to my website and read a little bit more. So I got through it all there. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time, and shout out to PRCA Clearbox for having me. Does anybody have any questions on that last segment that I did?
Okay, firstly, thanks, Emma. That was an amazing whirlwind of top tips and practical advice. So I'm sure everybody on the call took something away, and I was scribbling notes as we went through it. So there is a couple of questions in the chat. The first one was just going back to when we were talking about Instagram. Do you think that utilizing highlights are an important feature to use? Is there much of a difference in engagement if you don't use that feature? That was from Hannah.
I think highlights are actually quite important. It depends on your business, but in particular, say, for example, let's take Visit Belfast. If you were thinking of coming to Belfast from, I don't know, somewhere else anyway, and you just wanted to know the kind of top things about where you should go, the restaurants to go to, where does this, or, you know, are there certain seasonal dates that you should be aware of? It's a really great place to highlight them, or to house them, and to find out quick information. So we found, particularly with Visit Belfast, it was something that was engaged with quite a lot. Other businesses might not find the same, but I think if you have the core pieces of information that somebody might want to be aware of, particularly for businesses that are quite visual, like if you've got food industry or hospitality industry, or I don't know, you make beautiful pottery or something like that, or clothes, definitely highlights are something that you would see increased engagement with over time. We did a highlight that was just purely Game of Thrones, and it just soared off because it just comprised everything that you would need to know in one place. So yeah, I do think highlights can be really beneficial.
Now we've got just 2 questions left, Emma, and you'll definitely be able to answer these in less than 5 minutes. This one will be a one-word answer, I would say. So the first question is from Karen, and she would like to know if you would recommend linking your Instagram and Facebook accounts to send out the same post.
To link your Facebook and Instagram?
So I think what Karen means is, you know, whenever you've got the option, if you post to Instagram, it'll automatically post it to your Facebook account as well.
Yeah. First of all, if you're tagging anybody, make sure that you're using the different tabs within Facebook. Because I know you can go in and you can, you know, cross post, but if you're tagging somebody, it's not necessarily going to pick them up if they don't have exactly the same handle. So I actually prefer to do this in the background. If I am going to do that, I will go into the background and use the planning tool within Facebook, and you have you can switch tabs so that you are tagging the right people, and you know, you're not missing that opportunity. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't guilty of doing it, but I do try to post different content for different platforms. You do tend to find that people on Instagram are a little bit younger or looking for something a little bit more engaging. So I try not to post the same things on all the platforms.
Good. And then just the final question is from Nora, and Nora would like to know, do you find that constant changes to platforms such as Instagram can make it increasingly more difficult to pinpoint user habits? For example, we're finding posting times that once consistently worked really, really well can now be the cause of an underperforming post. Is the trick to continually change it up? Yes.
There you go. There's the answer. Yes. So we found, again, referring back to Visit Belfast as an example, we found that especially during the pandemic, pre-pandemic, we had certain posting times that we pretty much always stuck to, which was, you know, people coming, you know, commuter times or whatever, or lunch breaks and things like that. During COVID, people tended to take like little morning breaks at like 11 o'clock, and we found our engagement actually went up then. So we changed the times that we send our posts out. Actually, the same for our emails as well. We had to change our times for emails because they corresponded with times that people just had the time to check them out and read them and go through them. So yeah, it is. Social media is so frustrating. It really is. But you have to just continuously stay up to date with it. Monitor how things are working. I would easily say once every 3 months, I would be reevaluating how, when, what you're posting, because it changes so frequently. I'm just also putting into, oh, that's come out as quite a large. There's 3 different links in there. Sorry. There's 3 different links in the chat there about SEO and link building and answer the public for anybody who's interested in reading those articles that I kind of mentioned earlier as well.
You can put that through me. Well, I think if that's all the questions from everybody on the call, I think I just want to say thank you very much to Emma, who did that without needing too much liquid refreshment. She must be pretty parched now, but that was really, really informative. And yeah, on behalf of everyone, PRCA and our lovely members, Clearbox, thank you. And yeah, stay in touch. I put my contact details in at the beginning of the chat, and follow us on Twitter. We've always got a lot of events coming up, whether here in this region or nationally, that you can, now we're all on Zoom, you can dial in, and yeah, we'll be arranging a social in the beginning of the autumn, so more on that to come. Looking forward to it. But thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming.